welcome to Kelly's Roadhouse. I'm Paula and I'm with my fiancé Richard.
Hello.
Hi. So this is our new podcast.
It is.
We are going to read every single Sweet Valley High book in existence and recap all of them.
Yes.
There are a lot of Sweet Valley High podcasts already, but I thought I'd do one with the male point of view as well.
Yes. So my history with Sweet Valley is a lot less than yours. So, I pretty much know Sweet Valley through you because I think when, I was aware of the TV show and I think I'd seen at least an episode because I knew the theme. But if I think of Saban, I think of Power Rangers, not Sweet Valley High. And I think I was aware of the books, but I'd never read any until I met you. And so your love of Sweet Valley.
So I got given a Sweet Valley book by my older cousin. It was either Karen or Sherilyn, and it was the first one, Double Love, the one that we're going to recap today.
Yeah.
And I must have been about 11 at the time, so I think I was a bit too young for it, really. I had a big bag of books given to me, and I was just obsessed with it. And then in our school library and in the local library, they had loads and loads of them. So every week, I'd go to the library and I'd just get as many as I could. I think you're allowed to take out 5 at a time, and I was getting 5 at a time and reading them all in a week. And then I started to run out of them in the library. And back then, eBay wasn't really a thing. Social media wasn't a thing, and I'd find them listed on Gumtree for collection only around Bristol, and say Dad, I found a job lot of 10 Sweet Valley books. You need to drive me to Coalpit Heath to get them.
Where the hell is Coalpit Heath? I don't even know where that is.
Really obscure places on the outskirts of Bristol.
Yeah.
And they were 20p a book and things. So
you've been a lifelong fan, pretty much.
Yeah, so I got quite a collection of them, and then I got brand new ones as well from W.H. Smith, the later editions, because they started coming out in around 1985, and then they carried on into the early 2000s, because I remember I was in my mid-teens when the new ones were coming out in W.H. Smith. So, and then recently, about a year and a half ago, I finally got my dad to get all my old books down from the attic. And I was like, I'm going to reread all these books just for a laugh. And then just the obsession just started again. And then I was like, I'm going to collect every single one. So I've spent the last year and a half collecting and reading every single one. And I'm pleased to say that now I do own every Sweet Valley High book. And I have read them all. And I also own every Sweet Valley University book. And I've read all of them, which is the spin-off when they went to university. And I'm currently collecting the senior year series.
And you've got a lot of twins as well.
Yeah, I've got quite a lot of twins, although they're a little bit too childish for me. But I read them sometimes. And then, I've got all kinds of merchandise as well, which you can see if you find us on Instagram at Kelly's Roadhouse. There's photos of my jigsaw puzzles, electronic diary, dolls.
I never knew there was so much Sweet Valley stuff out there.
Neither did I.
Just so much stuff. And
then I guess I used to come round to see you and tell you about the crazy storylines. So I've never read this. Double Love is the only Sweet Valley book I've read, but I am aware of some of the crazier storylines because you've told me about them. So I know about there's a vampire, and I know that there's someone who thinks they're a werewolf, and things like that, and obviously I know about the evil twins and stuff. So I'm really excited about those later books. But I really enjoyed reading Double Love. I had fun. It was good fun. Yeah, the books start off quite tame and quite normal, about teen romance and things, but they do get crazier later on. Yeah, because this one is very much. It is very much teen drama. It's the guy I fancy, someone else fancies, and, or someone else is trying to get with. And it's all, it's very young adult relationship based. And then I gather as things go on, things get more and more crazy. The plastic surgeon trying to steal their mother's face.
Oh, you see, this is the kind of thing. This is the kind of thing I need in my life.
One of them dates an actual vampire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. It's going to be fun. It's a lot of books to get through, but I'm up for this. I'm up for this challenge. Obviously, you've already read all of them.
I'm up for reading them again.
I'm reading them for the first time. But so yeah, Double Love. Yeah,
so Double Love is the first book. So I got the copy in front of me. It's pastel pink, which matches the outfit I'm wearing today.
It does. It exactly. Actually, it's like you knew.
I did know.
Did you purposely do that?
Yeah, even
That's
though
good.
You can't see me, I thought just getting myself in the right vibe, in the right zone.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, share the continuing story of the Wakefield twins and their friends, their laughter, heartaches, and dreams. And then on the back, it says, will Jessica steal Todd from Elizabeth?
Will she?
And this cost £1.75, this book.
Back in the day.
Yeah, it was released in
80s, I guess?
1985. Yeah,
85.
The year I was born. It was released a month after I was born.
Well, there you go.
That's nice.
And then I guess you read them sometime in the 90s.
Yeah, I didn't read them when I was a month old.
No. Well, shall we go through the book?
Yeah.
We just go through the story.
So this episode, there's going to be a lot of introductions to the characters.
Yeah. The book kind of sets the scene.
Yeah. So we open on chapter 1 with Jessica saying how ugly she is.
Whilst the book makes it clear that she is stunning and perfect in every way. Like, the book kind of goes out of its way to be like, she's perfect and like all American good looks and a dimple and like they're perfect. But she's literally saying like how fat and hideous she is, and she's like, so she's, didn't she say like she's got a pumpkin for a head or something?
Yeah, so she actually says she describes herself as disgustingly fat with skinny legs and bumpy knees and a head like a pumpkin. Her hair is a yellow mess of split ends. Her eyes are dull and blah. And she can't possibly go to school looking like the way she looks.
Yeah, her perfect bronze legs are the grossest, skinniest legs in America. Apparently.
And she's saying this to her twin.
This
exactly is the same as her.
That's what makes this so good, right? So she's literally stood in front of the mirror saying, I am the ugliest person on the whole planet. And she stood right next to her identical twin. She's telling her identical twin this. She's literally like, I am so goddamn ugly.
And then we get the description by the narrator of the book. So this happens at the beginning of every single book. Even when they get to like number 150, we still get this description at the beginning.
That's awesome.
It changes slightly from book to book, but it always goes way over the top. So in this book, they describe the twins as shoulder-length, sun-streaked blonde hair, sparkling blue-green eyes, perfect skin, a dimple in their left cheek, and spectacular all-American good looks. 5'6". The only way you can tell them apart is by a beauty mark on Elizabeth's left shoulder, and Elizabeth always wears a watch because she cares about time.
Yes.
And it says that they are the most adorable, dazzling 16-year-olds ever.
But Jessica only sees utter heartbreak and despair in the mirror.
Yeah.
Despite all of that, that's what she sees. So they are the most perfect looking, idyllic twins on the planet. But Jessica is just not having a good day, but she's under pressure because it's a big day for her.
Yeah, so it's the day of the Pi Beta Alpha pledges. Yeah. Which is a sorority. I don't really know much about sororities.
I know nothing because we're not American.
I've watched
we're not
Legally Blonde.
Yeah, that's pretty much my knowledge of it as well.
What I know about them, but they seem to be quite important to the twins.
Yeah,
well,
especially to Jessica.
Anyway.
Yeah, they're desperate to get in into, or at least Jessica's desperate to get into Pi Beta
Jessica
Alpha.
says it's the most important day of her life, and Elizabeth says it's snooty. And to get in, they've had to do pledge dares.
Oh, these dares are amazing.
So,
like because the pledge dares, like when they've been shown in film or whatever, they're always really horrible and like really bad things. Yeah. It's like, oh my god, like what horrible things are the twins going to have to do to get into this sorority?
I'm sure there's been news. They've been on the news before where people have had to do really stupid things, and they've ended up I don't know, dying.
Yeah, yeah. Well, no one's going to die from these ones. These are...
They have had to order a pizza to their science class.
Which apparently was the most hilarious thing that's ever happened.
A singing telegram to Chrome Dome Cooper, who is the principal of the school.
Yeah.
And my favourite one is someone had to dye the mashed potato in the cafeteria purple.
What a dastardly thing to do. So presumably still tastes the same. It's just coloured purple, which I would think would be quite cool, actually. So yeah, those are the latest pledges, and Elizabeth is kind of sick of it. I think she's mostly doing it for Jessica, because Jessica is obsessed with getting in.
Yeah.
But then, of course, they get a phone call. Or more importantly, I guess, Elizabeth is meant to get a phone call, but Jessica picks up.
Yeah, and it's Todd Wilkins.
It is.
Who is the star of the basketball team. And he asks for Elizabeth, and Jessica tells him that Elizabeth is in the shower.
Yeah, and she's getting really, like, flirty with him as well, saying, like, oh, I watched you play basketball the other day, and, you know. Todd's like, I didn't know you watched my games. So she makes this lie that Elizabeth's showering, which she might be doing at the time, I guess, but she's not in the room anyway. And then basically gets rid of him off the phone and then says to Elizabeth that Todd was phoning her.
Yeah. Oh, and also I wanted to talk about the outfit that Jessica's wearing. Well, she says it's the most important day of her life and she's got nothing to wear.
Yes.
And Elizabeth says that she can borrow her new tuxedo shirt, plus the pants and the little bow tie.
So, what is a tuxedo shirt? Because I don't even know what that is.
Nobody seems to know this.
Oh, really? I thought this was going to be something that you'd be like, well, you idiot,
I've heard other
this.
Sweet Valley fans talk about this as well.
I'm really curious now. It sounds like an awful outfit. Is all I can take away from the description. But
I think it's probably just one of those white shirts with ruffles on the front.
Okay, yeah.
I don't really know.
But that's not going to look very good.
But then it's got a little bow tie with it.
Yeah.
Which I just love that image in my head. And matching pants.
See, I've got the image of the twins from the show in my head, and like Elizabeth just dresses like a granny. So yeah. I kind of assume that's what Jessica's now wearing, because Elizabeth's just been
I find this strange in this book. Jessica is always stealing Elizabeth's clothes and borrowing them, but they dress nothing alike.
No, and they make a point of that in the narration. They're like,
so
no.
I don't know why.
But yeah, either way.
But I like to think of the tuxedo shirt as one of those T-shirts
with a tuxedo,
with a picture of like a fake tuxedo on. You know that, like, I don't know who would even wear that. I was going to say a dad, but not a dad.
I don't even know. Someone who's a real character at the party would wear that. Let's assume that's it, because that is way funnier.
Yeah.
Jessica tells Elizabeth that it was Todd, and that Todd was, just wishing her all the best for getting into Pi Beta Alpha. And Elizabeth clearly, has strong feelings for Todd, and feels like she's been jolted by 1,000 watts of electricity. And she feels grounded by a 500-pound weight. There's a lot of numbers in these books. That's one thing I've taken away from it, is numbers, especially 137. But I guess we'll get to that as we go through. That comes up a few times. Jessica's heartbroken, and Elizabeth is heartbroken, and Jessica's basically making out that Todd is after her.
So then we get introduced to their parents for the first time, Alice and Ned.
Yes.
Who obviously are perfect.
Of course.
Because their whole family's perfect.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Ned says he's working late again on a case. Ned is a lawyer. And he's working late with Mariana West on an important case.
Yeah.
So that's setting...
setting up the B-plot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they say the twins can borrow the car, and we get introduced to the car, which is the red Fiat Spider.
They make a big deal out of this car. Is this iconic. Like in every book? This like their
until they get a Jeep later on in the later books.
Okay,
you know they get a Jeep because they have the Jeep on the TV show.
What? Yeah, I didn't know if they did it in the books or whether it was just for the show.
No, they get the Jeep. I can't remember when, but they have this Spider for a while.
Right, so it's the Spider,
whatever a Spider is,
and the Princess phone, and the Jeep.
And Jessica's banned from driving for 3 weeks because of an accident.
She caused like $200 of damage, didn't she?
Yeah, something like that.
And she says, what did she say? She says something like, it was hardly...
There's a book there if you need it.
Oh yeah, I've got some notes. I'm just terrible at scrolling through my notes. She basically makes out that it was, hardly a 10-car pile-up is what she says.
Oh, that's okay then.
Yes, fine. It's not hardly a 10-car pile-up, so it doesn't matter. But Jessica's banned from driving for a little while.
And then, so Elizabeth drives, and then we get the description of Sweet Valley, which again is over the top.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So they describe Sweet Valley as gentle rolling hills, a quaint downtown area, white sand beaches. It's just absolutely perfect, basically. And they drive past the Patman and Fowler mansions. Yes,
and we get some brief description of their whole rivalry, don't we?
Yeah, so the Patmans are old money, and they want to preserve everything in the town.
Yeah.
And the Fowlers are new money. Have I got that the wrong way around?
I think you might have that the wrong way around.
No, I haven't. No, the
Patmans want it to remain as it is. Fowlers want to change it.
Yeah. The Fowlers are new money.
I just found my notes.
And they want to change everything.
Yeah.
But basically, Lila Fowler, the rich girl, is Jessica's best friend. And Bruce Patman is
an asshole.
Just a jerk. Yeah.
It's just the worst.
Jerk that goes to their school.
Yeah.
He gets a lot jerkier in...
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll get to that. So Jessica pretty much sulks the whole way down to the school.
Yeah, because she can't drive.
She can't drive. And she even calls Elizabeth Aunt Fanny.
Fanny.
Yeah, she says, I think Liz says, like, you know, is there anything wrong? And I think Jessica's like, of course not, Aunt Fanny. So there you go. So the insults in this are fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think they ever swear in these books.
No, I guess not.
I can't think of a time when they've sworn.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they are for like 13, 14-year-olds.
I suppose so, but there's some content in these books.
There is later on.
You know,
yeah.
I mean, I've heard some stories, so you know, there is some content. So they arrive at the school, and then Jessica's sulking, and Liz thinks about Jessica, and she fears that Hurricane Jessica could be brewing.
Then they
hug. Jessica sneakily hugs her sister.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and we don't know why yet. She's just suddenly had a turn, and she's been very nice and friendly, hugging her sister. And Liz then goes off to meet her best friend.
Enid
we finally
Rollins.
get introduced to Enid, who is just an awful nerd, and Jessica's disgusted that Elizabeth even hangs around with Enid because she's a nerd.
Yeah, she says she doesn't want Liz talking to her in case somebody confuses the two of them and someone thinks that she's talking to Enid. And they describe Enid as shoulder-length brown hair and large green eyes. She was actually really pretty. And in her quiet way, she was very smart and very funny. Jessica figured anyone who was quiet was dull, but Enid Rollins was anything but dull. There was something almost mysterious about her, as though she knew things that other people didn't, or had a secret that she wanted to keep.
She's psychic.
And she does have a secret she wants to keep.
She does have a secret that she wants to keep. As Elizabeth approaches her, and she does have a secret to keep.
So she tells Liz she's been asked to the dance. The dance, because they have a dance in almost every book, by the way.
Oh, really? Is this a running theme?
Yeah.
I thought this was the dance, and then, you know.
So she's been asked to the dance by Ronnie Edwards. And then we learn that Liz wants to go with Todd.
Yes.
But it says something like, Enid says, don't worry, he'll ask you. And she was too nice to mention Todd by name.
He's like, she could tell that she was her best friend because she wouldn't say his name out loud until it was a done deal or something like that, isn't it? It's like, because until they're totally together. I know. It's like you're talking privately with your friend. Yeah, she does. She does. She doesn't say the name out loud.
And then they see Jessica driving around the car park like a maniac. They
have to dive in the bushes. They like dive out of the way of Jessica as she drives off in the Spider up to Bruce Patman's car. And like the way it's written, Jessica comes across like a psychopath in this book. Like the whole way through. The way she behaves is awful.
And she's only 16.
She's only 16. Imagine what she's going to be like in later life.
Well, we don't have to, because they did make a book. They made a book, Sweet Valley Confidential, which is the twins in their 30s, which I recently read it, and it's absolutely awful.
Damn.
I was really disappointed.
That's a shame. Oh, well, hopefully they'll do another one at some point and fix.
I think it's best if they don't, to be honest.
Just leave it?
I think they should leave it now.
Fair enough.
So, when she gave Elizabeth that hug, she stole the car keys out of Elizabeth's back pocket.
Yeah, and used it to impress Bruce with her terrible driving skills.
Yeah.
She probably nearly hit the Porsche, which probably wouldn't have gone down too well. But, so nearly runs over her sister and her sister's best friend, drives up to Bruce in the Spider and parks next to the Porsche. And
then Elizabeth's angry, but then she sees Todd, who's about to ask her to the dance. So he starts talking to her. He's about to ask her, but then the bell goes.
Mm-hmm.
So he asks her to meet him after basketball practice.
Yes. And Jess is now... doesn't Jess now go off to do the eyes and ears column? Is that what she goes to work on?
So...
because she's a journalist in
Elizabeth's
training.
kept late at the Oracle. The Oracle's the school paper.
Yeah.
And Elizabeth writes the eyes and ears column, which is it sounds like a really shit gossip column.
It sounds awful, but it's like, for her, it's like she's going to be a writer one day, and this is like serious work for her, and I feel like everyone else in the school doesn't really care, but...
Yeah. They act like Elizabeth is...
a god journalist.
The best journalist that's ever lived.
There's a few quotes later on. I think like Todd, or maybe Todd says something about like, "Wow, this is a really big story, Elizabeth. Like I always knew you'd make it." And it's like just talking about the football field.
With the eyes and ears column, it's just
it's gossip, right?
One of those columns where it's like, which star of the football team has been seen on a date with a head cheerleader, and it doesn't like mention names.
Yeah. And this may come back to bite Elizabeth later in the book, to be fair.
Yeah.
This whole setup.
So she's kept late writing the eyes and ears column, and then she goes to meet Todd, but she sees him speed off in the car with Jessica driving. Yeah,
Jessica driving Todd away. Betrayed by her sister. Unfortunately, though, despite her best efforts, Todd is still clearly in love, or at least lusting after Elizabeth. And Jessica doesn't get the attention she needs. So she decides that she's going to... Is this the next... I think this might be the next day. But she decide... She says at some point that she decides to walk because she always gets plenty of attention from passing cars.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to get enough attention from this boy. Yeah. I'm just going to get honked at by cars.
That's the next day.
It's the next day. Okay, sorry.
First we've got them at home that night.
Oh yes, and Jessica's like twisting everything around to.
Yeah.
Isn't it like she says, "Oh, you're what did she say? She twists it around to where it's like Elizabeth's fault. Oh, she says like, "Oh, I saw you with a bunch of people, so I thought you were with them," and like, or I saw you leave first in a car with someone else. Doesn't she say something like that?
Yeah, Elizabeth says to her, "My feet hurt because I had to walk home," and Jessica basically twists it and says, "I saw you get into a car with a bunch of people and leave me. What would Mum say if she saw me driving? It was sneaky and rotten of you to leave me like that." And then she tells Liz that Todd helped her get the decorations for the dance.
Yes.
And Elizabeth says, "Oh, did he mention me?" And she said no, but she's lying.
Yes, she is lying. We also meet Stephen.
Yeah, we get introduced to their brother Stephen,
who has a mystery girlfriend.
Yeah, so Stephen is a younger version of Ned.
Yes.
dark good looks.
You'll be surprised to know he is also perfect.
Yeah, a little bit over 6 foot, beautiful brown eyes, and a slim athletic build.
Wow, there we go. And he's got a mystery girlfriend that he won't disclose to the twins.
Yeah. And they all start winding each other up. So they've got this stupid game they play with each other.
Yeah.
Where they basically call each other ugly.
Yeah.
Because
that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Apparently.
They call each other repulsive and ugly.
This is Liz and Stephen, isn't it?
Yeah. And then when Jess comes in, they start doing it with her.
Yeah.
But she doesn't think it's
She's
funny.
got no time for that, yeah.
She says, you wouldn't think it was funny if you really were gross looking. And then she shudders.
Hang on a minute. Jessica, this morning you were gross looking.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And then she shudders at the thought of having anything other than a perfect family. Oh, God.
It's just repulsive. Imagine if I lived with Enid.
Yeah. And yeah, so Stephen's got a mystery girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they're sort of probing him, trying to get information out of him. Jessica especially, and then Elizabeth says they should mind their own business, and Jessica calls her selfish.
Yeah, selfish for minding her own business.
Yeah. And then Elizabeth has a meltdown, and she throws a sponge across the kitchen. She
does. And then her mum comes home and tries to
ask her what's
wrong. And being a teenager, Liz is like, nothing's wrong, but you get the inner monologue that she wishes she could tell her mother.
The inner monologue is...
have you got it there? That's great.
Well, I've got just a bit of it that I thought was good, where Liz thinks, if Jess wants Todd, I won't stand in her way. I'll just do the decent thing and die.
Yes.
Little bit dramatic.
It's a bit dramatic, isn't it?
I used to think things like that when I was a teenager.
But there you go. I mean, and it is written for a teenage audience, so, fair enough.
I was very like, I wish I was dead. I'll just die. I was always really over the top.
So yeah, and then she really loses it because doesn't Steve mention that Jessica's been talking to Todd on the phone as well?
Yeah, and she overhears Jess on the phone to Todd.
That's right.
And then she runs upstairs crying.
Yeah. So then we go to the next day. Elizabeth is once again working in the Oracle, thinking about Todd, while Jessica lies to Todd, basically making out that Liz just sleeps around with everyone. And that she hasn't got time for Todd. Elizabeth's just like, she can't keep up with her sister. Her sister's off sleeping with everyone and dating everyone.
Yeah.
And like, oh, she won't have time for you, Todd. But I've got time for you.
Yeah, when Liz is in the office, she has a fantasy about Todd kissing her on the forehead.
And that's all it took for her. It was a small thing, but it's all she needed for her perfect fantasy. Just a little kiss on the head.
It's very...
patronising. It's like a patronising kiss. Sounds like.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, what are you doing?
You fantasise about someone you fancy. It's
like a kiss on the forehead.
It's fantasise about him kissing me on the forehead.
That's all I need.
Especially when you're 16.
Yeah, come on.
Your fantasies would be, more than that.
You would think, right?
But this is Elizabeth.
This is Elizabeth. Actually, this kind of fits her character, so it kind of works as Elizabeth.
And then Cara Walker comes into the Oracle office and gushes breathlessly that she has an item for eyes and ears. And she says Todd and Jess are the hottest new couple and we're seen up at Miller's Point.
Which is a well-known kissing spot, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's basically Kisser's Lane or whatever.
Yeah, it's a very iconic place in the book.
Oh, is it? We go back to Miller's Point.
A lot happens at Miller's Point.
Oh, God.
Yeah, a lot.
I've heard some stories.
And then again, Liz starts sobbing.
Yeah, she's not having a good time, poor Liz. So yeah, this is where things, Jessica can't seem to win Todd over. She's kind of dissuading Todd from Elizabeth, but she's still not getting where she wants to go. So she decides to walk home and get attention from passing cars.
Yeah, we're still not at that bit yet.
Are we not? Sorry. My notes are rubbish.
You're just desperate to say that bit.
I love that bit. It's one of my favourite bits.
So in the office, we get introduced to Mr. Collins.
Oh, of course, we do.
I
can't miss out Mr. Collins. I do apologise.
So he is the Oracle's good-looking student advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives her a hanky, and it says, there weren't many people Elizabeth trusted and respected more than Mr. Collins.
Yeah.
What a heener.
Yeah, what a keener, basically.
And then John Pfeiffer, the sports editor, walks in, and he says he needs a photo of Todd for an article. And then she runs off crying again.
Yeah.
How many times has she cried now? At least 3.
That's something we should keep account of. It's at least 3 so far. Maybe for future books we'll do that. We'll keep account on how many times Elizabeth
crying
cries.
Sally.
At least 3 so far. Let's go with 3.
Yeah, it's definitely minimum of 3. And then... Do you want to say?
And then you'll never guess what happens, Paula. Because then... it turns out that Jessica doesn't get enough attention from Todd. So in a huff, she decides to walk home because she always gets plenty of attention from passing cars.
And she sets off swinging her hips.
Yes. Oh, yeah. They make a point about how she walks down the road to get attention. And she gets attention.
That's just weird.
It's very weird.
But as a 16-year-old girl, if you were walking along the road and got loads of attention from cars...
Yeah, it's not good, is it?
No.
It's not good at all. But... and of course the moral of this story is that this is not a good idea. Because what happens?
I don't know, what happens?
Well, she does get attention. Because Rick Andover pulls up next to Jessica in his Camaro.
And says the classic line...
Pardon me, heaven, which way to Mars? That is, I mean, if I'd known that line before I met you, I would have used it. That's such a line. So Jess decides to get in the car, because she's sensible like that.
Yeah, so Rick is the most outrageous guy at Sweet Valley High. He dropped out 6 months ago, so he's not actually at Sweet Valley High then, is he?
No.
So he dropped out 6 months ago, and it says the ice-cool handsomeness of junior Clint Eastwood, a hint of danger in his dark, sultry eyes, and an eagle tattoo on the densely packed muscles of his forearm.
Yeah, they make a big deal out of his muscly forearms. He's like Popeye.
Yeah, and it says Jess is staring at the eagle tattoo in fascination. I guess tattoos quite rare then in 1985. For a
16-year-old, probably.
Actually, yeah.
I mean, I guess he must be older than that. He's driving around. Can you drive at 16 over there? Maybe
you
can.
can.
Okay. He's obviously doing all right. He's driving around in a Camaro at 16.
A jacked up Camaro.
A jacked up Camaro.
I don't know what that means.
I have no idea.
Is it like modified?
I thought that meant stolen, but I don't know. I mean, who knows? But yeah, so I guess modified or whatever. But they get in the car and he drives her back home. But he shoots her a look that says, "Don't fight too much. I'm not used to getting no for an answer."
So I love their conversation.
Yes.
So he says, "I'm driving you home unless your mummy warned you not to take rides with strangers." And she says, "I do as I please."
Yeah.
And he said, "My mum warned me not to ride with strange young girls." And she said, "I'll fight off the urge to attack you." And he said, "As long as you don't fight too hard, I'm not used to taking no for an answer." And that just sounds really rapey to me.
It sounds horrendous.
And then he tells her that he's taking her on a date.
He tells her that she's going to go on a date and she better not be late because they have got some serious boogieing to do.
And then he already knows where she lives.
Yes. And
because he says...
She questions it. She's like, "How do you know where I live?"
And he says, "I make a point to know where all the foxiest chicks in Sweet Valley live." So now he sounds like a stalker as well as a rapist. He sounds like a stalker.
He then pretty much forces a kiss on Jessica.
Yeah, he gives her a light teasing kiss that promised more than it delivered.
And smelt sexy like leather and gasoline.
Yeah, that's one of my favourite bits. I mean, when I think of someone smelling sexy, leather and gasoline. First thing I think of.
It's great, isn't it?
They should bottle that scent.
They should. As a vegan, I love both of those things.
Yeah. Then we cut to their date, and Jess is wearing her sexiest red blouse and a silk jersey skirt.
Yeah.
And that sounds like something you wear to an office.
We should also make a point. She tells Elizabeth that she's going on the date. She doesn't say who with.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth is under the impression that it's Todd.
Oh, yeah.
So Rick picks up Jessica and takes her to Kelly's Roadhouse.
And it says he talked the way he drove, fast and dangerously.
Yeah, so he's basically a maniac.
They arrive at a seedy-looking beachfront roadhouse.
Yeah, Kelly's.
And it's Kelly's Roadhouse.
It is.
Which is what we named the podcast after.
It is. I'm hoping that's not too obscure. I'm assuming Sweet Valley High fans will know Kelly's Roadhouse.
Well, hopefully everyone that will listen to this will become a Sweet Valley High fan.
Absolutely. We hopefully convert some people.
How can you not want to read this book?
I'm converted. I'm a Sweet Valley High fan.
So Kelly's has the most notorious reputation of any bar in Sweet Valley, and none of Jessica's friends have ever been inside. And then when she gets in, loads of men are just staring and whistling at her. Yeah,
it's like the most stereotypical seedy bar. She loves attention until tonight, when she hates attention. So she's like hates it in there and is really intimidated and scared. Yeah,
she starts to think she's out of her league. There's twangy country music playing on a jukebox.
Yes.
Sounds not like my idea of a good bar, but... Rick orders some Boilermakers, which it says is beer with a shot of whiskey.
Yes, and he has one of them and is immediately drunk.
Hammered.
He is hammered, and there's one drink.
Yeah.
He slurring his words. Yeah,
he says, the moment I laid eyes on you, I knew you were fun and wouldn't let me down, little Jessica.
Little Jessica.
She tries to push him off, and he calls her all tease and no tickle. And says that her mummy should have told her not to put anything in the window. But she doesn't sell at the store.
This goes on, right? This goes on for a long time, and no one does anything for ages. They just let it go. While she's struggling and he's like all over her.
Yeah.
They just let it go for ages. I love when Jessica says she'd have a better time with an octopus than with him.
And then she wants to go home, but he won't take her.
Yeah.
And he tells her to relax, and he drags her into another one of his moist kisses. And then an older guy who looks like a cross between a teddy bear and Jules.
Another one of his leather and gasoline kisses. Yeah, so then someone finally steps in. Finally.
He looks like a cross between a teddy bear and Jules, apparently.
Yeah.
So he steps in and offers her a lift home, and then Rick starts a fight with him.
Yeah, Rick gets punched to the floor, and then like the best kind of rubbish like 80s or 90s TV show, the police immediately show up. Just like it's like they were waiting outside to come into this bar anyway, and like he gets punched to the ground. As soon as he hits the ground, the police turn up.
Yeah, and they say something like they arrest Rick, and they say it's not the first time that he smashed up the bar.
Yeah, I think that the barman says it's not the first time he smashed up my bar. Take him away. And obviously, because Jessica's with him, no one explains that Jessica was being forced at the bar, so the police also have a go at her.
Yeah.
After she's just been, like, assaulted at the bar.
And then they ask her name when they're in the car. They're driving her home. And she says Wakefield.
Yeah.
Like, if someone asks your name, you don't just say your last name, do you?
Not generally, but it suits this plot.
Yeah, exactly. It suits this plot. So the reason it suits this plot is because she doesn't say Jessica. The policeman says, "Oh, my niece knows you from school, Elizabeth."
Yeah, and she doesn't correct him.
No, and then when they pull up outside her house, he says, "No more brawls at Kelly's, Elizabeth."
Yep.
And then Caroline Pierce, the town gossip, passes and overhears. She goes straight home to her white princess phone to spread the word. There's
a lot of princess phones in Sweet Valley High. All the girls have got princess phones. I looked up princess phones, and they're really kind of boring phones, to be honest.
Yeah, they're cute, though.
They're cute,
in the 80s, everyone had one.
But when I think princess phone, I was thinking like it was some extravagant thing, and then I saw it and I was like, oh.
Like a phone, like it's just a crown on it or something.
Yeah, something fancy. So she blames or says that it's Elizabeth. So the gossip is that Elizabeth has gone to Kelly's with Rick Andover. Liz, the next day, she wakes up and she wishes that it would rain, but it's always sunny in Sweet Valley High.
Sounds awful.
It's just awful, isn't it? What a place to live. We also, they make a point of saying that there's a theatre poster of Jason Robards on her wall.
Who's that?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I assumed that was an attempt to show how Liz is cultured.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's a real person, but I am not cultured, so I don't know.
So, at school, Liz notices that everyone's staring at her.
Yes.
And people were making weird comments. So Bruce Patman says he didn't know he had it in her.
Mm.
And Enid says, I want you to know that I'll always be your best friend no matter what. Everyone makes mistakes.
So, so unbeknownst to Elizabeth, everyone thinks that Elizabeth went to Kelly's bar with Rick Andover. And they behave like she has murdered someone. Like, honestly, if someone had done this in my school, right, so outside of the assault, which I guess people aren't aware of, like, they just know she's gone to Kelly's bar with Rick Andover and got taken back by the police. If you did that in my school, people would be like, wow, you're really cool. You went to a bar and you got into trouble with the police. But they act here, they're horrified.
Yeah,
they're like, this is the worst. It would
school.
make you like the most popular person in school, probably.
Yeah.
And maybe we just went to different schools than Sweet Valley High. But,
I get the impression America is very clean cut and it's not as cool to smoke and do
I guess
drugs
not.
and things.
From the books, anyway.
But I don't know. Maybe that's just the idea that we get from TV shows.
And books and stuff. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, everyone is like just acting like she's gone and murdered someone. Yeah. Or done something really horrendous.
Yeah, because then Enid goes to meet Ronnie.
Yes.
And Ronnie tells her that she shouldn't hang around with someone like Liz.
After the stunt she pulled last night. Yeah.
So when Liz gets home, she calls Enid, who finally tells her.
Yeah, because Enid says to Ronnie that she wants to hear Elizabeth's side of the story first before she, disowns her.
And then, on the phone, Enid tells her, and she realises that it was Jessica. And what would you do in real life there? You would say to your best friend,
"Oh my
God, that wasn't me. That was Jessica."
And look, we're identical twins. And also, Jessica. She's way more likely to do this than me.
Yeah, but she doesn't say that. She hangs up.
Yeah, she basically the only half of the things that Jessica gets away with in this book is only because Elizabeth basically lets her get away with it.
Yeah.
Like, if Elizabeth at any point was like, that was Jessica, I'm pretty sure that Enid and Bruce and everyone else that knows Jessica would have been like, yeah, that makes way more sense.
So Elizabeth confronts Jessica and Jess says, oh yeah, I'll get it cleared up.
Yeah, but then she says, oh, something will come up tomorrow and everyone will forget about it. She's like, there'll be some new gossip tomorrow.
But there is going to be some new, Jessica starts crying because she's found out that their brother Steve is dating Betsy Martin.
Now, Betsy Martin
is the town slut.
It's basically the town slut.
She's trash.
And she's trash. She's been doing drugs for years, and she sleeps around.
And her father's an alcoholic.
And her mum died of leukemia.
Yeah.
So basically, because her mum died, the family's kind of broken, and the father's become an alcoholic, and Betsy, poor Betsy, has fallen into drugs and sleeping around, and I think it's Jessica says, no wonder he's been mysterious. Steve, that is.
Jessica says that her reputation will be ruined.
Yes, it's all about Jessica's reputation. Yeah.
So we find that out, and then it cuts to Enid at the beach with Ronnie and Todd. And Enid tells them that rumours might not be true. But Ronnie, he's really nasty. He's just really nasty about it. And Todd's really upset.
Yeah.
So Ronnie says some things are unforgivable.
Going to a bar is unforgivable.
Unforgivable.
It's like, what has she done? She's gone to a bar at 16. Yeah. I mean, like...
I did that.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't understand. And like... It would just be like people in school would just be like, oh wow,
yeah,
that's really cool.
Unforgivable.
What was it like?
Yeah.
No, it's unforgivable.
So then we get some background to the football field.
Yes.
Court case.
Yeah.
Which is the court case that Ned is working on with Mariana West.
Mm-hmm.
So the Fowlers want to basically the lease has run out on the football field.
Yeah.
The Fowlers want to buy it and turn it into a factory.
Yeah.
And the Patmans want to plant a formal English garden.
I love the formal English garden. It's like, what? That's so random. Like, no, we want to make a formal English garden out of the football field.
I just don't understand.
It's
part of the school, surely.
Yeah, and how big is this football field? I mean, it's either going to be a really small factory or a really massive garden. Like, I can't decide which.
Yeah. So Mr. Collins asked Liz to cover the story.
Yes, and Liz
the
finally has a big story.
Yeah, the story is that the students are protesting on the field.
Yes.
So yeah, he wants her to go and cover that.
He wants her to go down and cover the school protest as the jocks and the leader of the football team, the Gladiators, is going to stage a protest along with the cheerleaders. And they're just going to basically go down onto the field. And that's basically their plan. They're like, we're just going to go down on the field and not leave until they hear our voice. But the principal and the teachers are like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We need to stop this peaceful protest. Like, we can't let this continue. It's like they make a massive deal out of it. It's like, it's just a peaceful protest. Like, it's not, it's like, oh my God, we've got to stop them.
Well, it's peaceful until Elizabeth gets there, because when she gets there, Bruce Patman starts on her.
Yeah.
He says their family is a disgrace. He calls her a bar crawler. And he comments on Ned and Mariana West. Yes,
so which adds fuel to the fire. Now there are rumours going around
that they're having
Ned.
An affair.
Yeah. So Ken Matthews.
Oh, I love Ken Matthews.
The powerful blonde Gladiators captain. They argue with Todd, don't they? That they won't lose the field without a fight, and then they do the sit in the field plan, and it says that Jess leads the cheerleaders while Ken leads the Gladiators down to the field like an army of Roman warriors. So yeah, Bruce is awful to Jessica, isn't it?
To Liz.
To Liz, that's right.
He calls her a bar crawler.
That's right, he calls her a bar crawler, yeah.
Jessica is talking to Todd, and she's crying. She tells him the truth about Kelly's.
Yes, she finally admits the truth, which is quite unlike Jessica and the rest of this book.
Yeah, I thought that.
She just suddenly is like, no, I'm going to tell the truth now. Like, okay.
But then Todd tells her that he's never heard anything so noble.
It's the most noble thing he's ever heard.
He didn't realise how truly special she was until this moment.
Yeah.
He basically thinks that she's just trying to take the blame for her sister.
Yeah, and he thinks that's really noble. And Jessica, because she's finally got what she wants with Todd, and that Todd now admires her, she doesn't correct him.
Yeah, he kisses her and he tells her he's taking her to the dance.
Yes, or he asks her. He's not Rick Andover.
He's not Rick Andover.
He does ask.
So Winston Egbert, who is the class clown, school nerd character,
who I remember from the show. Like, when I think of Winston, I always think of him. Like, he is just that guy.
So he sees Todd and Jessica kissing, and he tells Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But then Bruce pulls up in the black Porsche, and he calls Elizabeth Roadhouse Rhoda.
Yes, Roadhouse Rhoda, and then asks her to the dance.
Yeah, he says he's decided that
he's like, you're awful. Want to go on a date with me?
Yeah, he said he didn't realise she was such a fast number, so that's why he wants to take her to the dance.
Right.
But
she said she'd rather be alone for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And she's got a date.
It's a fair comment, really.
It is a fair comment. She also says that she's already got a date for the dance.
Yeah, Winston. She says she's going with Winston.
Which, of course, Winston, poor Winston, is over the moon at this news. And Liz basically convinces herself she's going to have fun. She's like, this will be good, going with Winston and watching my sister with the guy I love. It'll be fun.
Yeah, especially
I'll have a wonderful time.
Winston also has a massive crush on Jessica.
Yeah, everyone fancies Jessica at this point, as far as Liz is concerned, but it's fine. So Jessica says to Liz the next morning that she told the truth to Todd, and they asked her to the dance, and that he's the greatest guy in 137 states. So I'm guessing America in Sweet Valley is very different to the America we know.
Oh, yeah.
It's got 52 states, right?
Yeah, 50.
50 states. So somehow it's 137 states. But this number comes up again a few times. Like later on it comes back up.
It comes up in every book for years, pretty much.
Yeah, that's right, because at the end,
like even
Jessica
10
says
years later, they're still using 137.
Do we know why?
No.
Right.
No one's ever known why. And all the books are different ghostwriters as well.
It's weird.
So
that must be like an edict from...
keeps slotting it in.
Or it's from like Francine. She's like, this number.
Yeah.
You have to get that in every now and again. Yeah, I thought it was really weird, but fine. Because he's like so specific. It's such a specific number. So then, of course, Steve turns up and they begin to argue about Ned's apparent affair.
Yeah, so Jessica says, Dad is so good looking and Mariana is kind of attractive if you like the flashy type.
Yeah.
So, of course, they're having an affair. And then Stephen calls her a selfish twerp.
Yeah, which, you know, fair
That's
comment.
true.
Yeah, fair comment.
And they tell him that they know that he's dating Betsy.
Yes. But it turns out he wasn't dating Betsy. Not skanky Betsy Martin. He's actually dating less skanky Trisha Martin, who is apparently the one respectable member of this family that's still alive.
Yeah. But Jessica says she's still a Martin.
Yeah, she's still a Martin. Once a Martin, always a Martin. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter because Steve reveals that he's blown it. Because he was ashamed of being around a Martin in public, Trisha called him a snob and split up with him. Good for her. The evening before the dance, we get a conversation between Jessica and Elizabeth, and Jessica complains about her going with Winston Egbert. Liz says that she turned down Bruce, and Jess is absolutely disgusted by this because he's got a Porsche. That's basically like the only reason.
And
he's good looking and rich, and he's got a Porsche. Doesn't matter that he's awful.
She's always concerned about what the rest of the family are doing.
It's like, whatever reflects on her, I think. Yeah, is like as long as it doesn't reflect badly on me.
She wanted Liz to be in the sorority.
Yeah.
She doesn't like Liz talking to Enid.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't want Stephen to go out with Betsy.
Yeah.
She doesn't want Liz to go to the dance with Winston.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, just get on with your own life.
Get on with your own life, Jess. Come on.
So then we get to the night of the dance.
Yes.
And I love this. So Todd arrives to pick up Jessica and he accidentally tells the Wakefield parents that he's there to pick up Elizabeth.
He does, yeah. He gets his words all confused because he's still thinking about Elizabeth.
And then he tells Jessica that she looks nice and she's fuming.
Jessica is like secretly disgusted by what happened to Beautiful or something, or Gorgeous.
3 hours of work and I look nice, she says.
I think he says nice, really lovely or something like that. It's like, oh no, really very pretty. He says she looks nice, really very pretty. And apparently that really angers Jessica.
That does sound like something your dad would say.
It does. But then also, like, her parents are there. You know, it's like he's maybe just trying. I would have assumed, like, oh, he's just trying to be nice for, you know, Ned and Alice. Don't want to upset the parents.
Yeah.
And then Winston turns up. Oh, they turn up at the same time, don't they, actually?
Yeah, because Todd and Winston are friends, even though he's
they're
sort
opposites,
of the star basketball player and Winston's the school nerd. So it's a really unlikely friendship, but they are friends.
Yeah, which is very unusual for Sweet Valley High, I guess, because it seems very class-based.
You stick to your own type.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the dance, Winston's complaining to Liz about his love life.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "You want to know the kind of girl people fix me up with? What a personality. That always means 250 pounds overweight and 2'5". I have to put her hamburger on the floor so she can reach it."
What does that even mean?
These books,
they're
so politically incorrect.
They're awful.
So there's so much like fat shaming, slut shaming, sort of anti-feminist stuff.
Yeah.
It gets a lot worse. Believe me, a lot worse.
It's crazy to think that, like, my generation, your generation before us were reading these books at that age and being like, this is my moral compass. This is what was
shaping my mind.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you turned out all right. Yeah.
I don't know how.
Worked out fine.
Reading these back. At the end of the night, Jessica tries to kiss Todd, but he gives her the cheek.
Yeah, so they go to the dance and the droids are playing. Make a big deal of the droids. The droids, they mention the droids like three or four times in this book. Todd drags Jessica to the dance floor, and apparently they're like the most perfect couple in the world and such good dancers that everyone parts for them and makes room for them to do their dance, and they cheer and clap afterwards. Winston Egbert makes a point to Liz that, you know, she's meant to be with him, and she keeps looking at Todd, and Todd keeps looking at her, and he's like, maybe we're with the wrong people because I'm in love with Jessica and you're clearly in love with Todd. Then at the end of the night, like you said, unfortunately, Jessica has had an okay night. She thinks it could be a great night. It could end great. But unfortunately, Todd kisses her on the cheek.
She tells herself that she'll get even with him if it's the last thing she does.
Boy, does she.
So she's more angry about this.
Yeah, this is the most angry she's been.
Rick Andover trying to basically rape her.
Yeah. This is like Rick Andover. She mentions it. She's upset with Liz in one conversation, gets over it, moves on. But she is furious at Todd for being a gent and just kissing her on the cheek.
How dare someone not find her irresistible, basically.
Yeah, and it's like, maybe he was just nervous. Maybe, there's like 100 reasons that wouldn't be that it's, it's not that he doesn't like her.
She says she wants to destroy his nice guy image.
Yeah, she's basically...
goes into Elizabeth's room crying. So do you want to tell everyone what she does? What she tells Elizabeth?
Sure. So yeah, Jessica is like basically vowed revenge. Jessica heads into the house and basically says to Liz that Todd assaulted her, putting his hands all over her despite her protests. And she warns Liz off of Todd and basically says, "Oh, I'm glad it was me rather than you. And like, you'll never have to, I saved you from Todd, this awful, awful man."
Yeah, she says, "I had to beg him to stop. His hands were everywhere." Elizabeth is fuming, as you would be. If
understandably.
Tried to rape your twin sister.
Yeah. Like, he's basically an attempted rapist now in the eyes of Liz. Meanwhile, we get the Ned visiting Steve's room. Steve hasn't left his room for days. He's got a 2-day shadow in bloodshot eyes, and Ned comments that he looks terrible. And finally,
he doesn't look that bad.
No, of course not. He's perfect, but apparently he looks terrible. Terrible for a Wakefield standards. He looks terrible for a Wakefield. Probably still better than everyone else in Sweet Valley High. And finally he confides in his parents. And they basically say, well, at least it's not Betsy. So if it's not Betsy, we're all right we're not okay with the family, but we're okay with you dating Trisha. So Steve's going to go off and he tells Trisha, he goes to her horrible house, the rough part of Sweet Valley with saggy roofed ranch, an old neglected place.
I'm surprised there is a rough part of Sweet Valley.
Well, I don't know if there's a rough... I might have just added that in my notes.
No,
it might not be a rough part.
They do say that, I think. I'm surprised that there's even any rough people in Sweet Valley.
Yeah, but apparently there are. It's the one house, just this one house full of rough people. That's just them. And the rest of them just go to Kelly's. So he says that he's in love with her and that he's sorry. And they patch things up and they go to Derry Burger. While he's there, though, what happens while he's at Derry Burger?
So he's on his way home and then he sees Ned driving down a side street with Mariana
West.
He decides to follow them and he sees them walk into her house and guess what they're doing? They're laughing.
They are laughing, which proves, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they're definitely having an affair.
Yeah.
He then says he waits outside for a couple of songs and then gives up and goes home, convinced
they must be having sex.
They must be having sex in there.
So cut back to school the next day, and Elizabeth bumps into Todd. He tells her everyone makes mistakes, and he says that he forgives her and that he's willing to forget about it.
But of course, Liz is furious at the way that Todd has allegedly treated her sister. So she wants nothing to do with him.
Yeah, she basically tells him to fuck off.
Yeah, several times. I think he tries like 3 or 4 times during the day or during the weeks to try and meet up with her or even talk to her. She either says she's too busy or just refuses to meet him. I think at one point he's like, "Oh, meet me after school here," and she just doesn't go.
But again, it's one of those things which they always do in these books, and they've already done it in this book, where with Enid not telling Elizabeth what the rumours were for a whole day.
Yeah, like, why don't you just say?
Elizabeth doesn't say, "You tried to rape my sister," or "I know what you did to my sister," or anything like that.
Anything that would start a conversation which would reveal the truth just doesn't happen. They just, like, ignore it.
She just, tells him to sod off. And...
Like, even in this book, how many times has Jessica lied to Elizabeth, but she's not even going to consider the fact that it might be, maybe go hunting for the truth. Nope. She's an investigator. She's a journalist. She should know better than this.
Yeah.
It's literally her job.
Or
what she wants as a job. No.
But talking of journalism, she is then at the courtroom to cover the football field case.
Yeah, she goes...
As if they I don't know, would they let a school reporter, someone that writes for a school newspaper, into a courtroom?
I mean, I wouldn't have thought so.
I don't know, actually. I guess they are
maybe.
public.
Yeah, maybe they would.
I've heard.
Just for a laugh. Just be like, well, it gives them some experience, doesn't it, I guess, for the school paper. And I guess it's a case. It's not like a murder or a rape case. It is a case about the school football field. It's something they're involved with anyway. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know.
I just like to slag off everything she does.
Yeah, so I must admit she's already annoying.
I'm Team Jessica, by the way. Even though this book paints Jessica in a really bad light.
So I will say
she gets better.
I will say this book paints Jessica as a psychopath in training, but I know from conversations we've had the way this ends up, and it's kind of funny to see that Jessica starts off like this, but by the end you're kind of more Team Jessica than Team Liz. But yeah, so she goes to court and heads to the press section, hoping that one day she'll work in somewhere like this. But then she feels an icy stab as she sees Mariana.
Yeah, because the big case that Mariana and Ned have been working on is this football field case.
Yeah, it's the football field case.
So they are in court.
So they're defending the school, basically. They're there to try and save the school field, and then you've got the Fowlers and the Patmans and their lawyers on the other side trying to get it for their own means. And Mariana approaches Elizabeth and says she's beautiful. And that basically tells Elizabeth that she was completely wrong about Mariana, because now she says she's pretty, she can't be having an affair. Mm-hmm. And I guess she was wrong.
Yeah, and Elizabeth
genuine.
is also impressed by Mariana in court, like the way she defends the school.
Yes.
It's almost like she's, a good lawyer, and they've actually been working.
Yeah.
Not just
it's almost like it was
each other.
Yeah, it's almost like it was a professional thing. And of course, they are successful. Their work is paid off. The judge rules that the football field will stay with Sweet Valley High. But then, big drama, Paula. Big drama. Because as Elizabeth gets home, she discovers that Ned has a big announcement at dinner, and that Mariana is coming for dinner too. It must mean that
I can't believe this
Ned has arranged for a family dinner in which he's going to bring his girlfriend that he's having an affair with, and he's going to basically leave the family at dinner tonight.
Yeah. Steve, Jessica, and Elizabeth.
They're convinced. They all convinced.
Assume that Mariana's coming for dinner and that their parents are going to announce a divorce. And
that's the announcement.
He's having an affair with Mariana.
And the Alice is fine with her coming to dinner to announce this. It's fine.
I mean, as if they would announce that over a dinner.
Oh, pass the potatoes while you're passing them.
Stephen's horrified because he's invited Trisha to dinner as well.
Yeah, so he's invited Trisha.
He's like, oh my god.
Who I feel really sorry for, because it even says she like gingerly approaches the table, and she's like, obviously from this family that everyone just hates, and she's
got to go to the perfect Wakefield house.
Yeah,
with their perfect family, their perfect house.
They haven't.
The food's probably perfect.
They don't really talk about the house here, but I know they explain the house, don't they? Later, they describe the house as perfect.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful little house, or big house, I guess. So the big announcement: the twins and Stephen are absolutely shocked to discover that Alice and Mariana are getting on great at the table. What's going on? Well, the big announcement. What's the big announcement?
The announcement is that Mariana has been made a full partner in the law firm, and Ned has been helping her to get the promotion, so that's why they've been spending so much time together.
In between sex. Yeah, so there was nothing going on, and it was professional all along. It turns out that lawyers have to work long hours. That's a surprise to everyone in the family. So yeah, it was professional, and Mariana basically is getting a promotion. Bit weird that he brought Mariana over for food with his family to tell her that, but fine. I mean, I guess Alice gets on with her. They get on well, and it's just a nice thing. So it's fine. Elizabeth feels ashamed. She's realised that she is a terrible investigator and an awful journalist, and she got it all wrong. Her powers of investigation have failed her. There was nothing untoward going on at all. So yeah, Liz continues to try and forget about Todd, doesn't she, basically? Yeah,
so she goes to the Dairy Burger with Jessica. The Dairy Burger is their hangout, and it's like a diner.
Yeah.
It's in most every.
It's in this TV show as well.
Although in the TV show, it's called the Moon Beach.
Oh, is it? I thought it was the Dairy Burger.
In the books, the Moon Beach is an actual beach,
right?
Where they have parties on the beach. But in the in the books, the diner is the Dairy Burger.
The Dairy Burger, yeah.
Spelled with an I.
Mm-hmm. I spelled it wrong here, but that's fine.
So Liz is still mooning over Todd, even though she thinks he tried to rape her sister.
Yeah, she's still like, he is quite handsome though. You know, rapist, but...
And he's in the Dairy Burger as well, and he won't even look at her.
He's with the singer of the Droids, isn't he? Or with someone from the Droids? Dana.
I don't know, maybe.
I thought it said she was from the Droids, but in any case, he's with someone else, and I don't blame him at this point for not looking at her, because he doesn't even know the allegations against him.
She did tell him repeatedly to leave her alone.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't know what she thinks. As far as he's concerned, she just hates him now, and he's like, well, I'm fine then. Get out of my life.
Yeah, and it says he won't even look at her, and she thinks, why is he acting this way?
Yeah, why do you think? He's asked to meet you.
You've asked him to do.
You've not shown up. You've told him you're busy. You said you don't want anything to do with him anymore. Slam the phone down on him.
Yeah.
He doesn't know that you cried for an hour after that.
Why isn't he talking to me? Why is he ignoring me?
Yeah, why is this happening?
So they drive home, and they notice they're being followed by someone in a car.
Yes.
Someone in a jacked up Camaro.
And this causes a bit of a panic. And Jessica stalls the car, allowing Rick Andover to catch up with them and pull in behind them.
He gets out at a red light and he says, well, if it isn't heaven and her sister, heavenly. He's got some good lines. He's
got all the lines, Rick.
And then he hijacks their car.
He does. He basically jumps into the Fiat Spider and manages to just push them out of the way, I guess. And he's like, now he's in command.
Well, you know what? He has got very big muscles.
He's got only in his forearms. Only in his forearms. But they are big forearm muscles, like Popeye, I imagine. So yeah, he pushes Elizabeth or pushes Jessica out of the way, gets in the driver's seat, and he's drunk.
Obviously,
he's drunk.
He's always drunk. I just assume that Rick is always drunk.
And he basically drives like an absolute maniac, a drunk maniac, swerving around the road, almost causes several accidents, and drives back past the Dairy Burger, where Liz briefly sees that Todd sees them in the car. And continues driving drunkly around until they reach Kelly's bar, our lovely bar here. And just as he's arriving at the bar, a car pulls out in front of him and stops him.
It's Hero Todd.
Save
the day.
Hero Todd.
So they get out of the car and Rick punches Todd.
But Todd immediately gets back up. He's ready.
So yeah, basically they have a big fight and Todd wins. And Elizabeth and Todd kiss.
Yeah, despite, though, they've still not established... Yeah, I know. They've still not established that Todd is innocent of the attempted rape. So she's just like, oh, you won this fight, so that undoes all the bad. Fine, that's okay then.
And Jessica says she never wants to see Kelly's again.
Yes, which causes Todd to question.
Todd realises.
He's like, what do you mean you never want to see... Which doesn't work either, because even if you went there the one time and it was a horrible thing, she'd just be like, well, I wish I'd never see this place again.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but Todd deduces from that it was Jess at Kelly's Roadhouse the whole entire time, and Todd basically tries to confront her about it, but Jess is just like, I haven't got time for this. I'm going inside. She goes inside and leaves them to it, and Jess and Todd finally apologize to each other and reconcile, and
finally have an actual conversation where they talk,
which properly. They could have had in like chapter 3, and probably solved this entire thing.
And Elizabeth tells Todd what Jessica said he'd done, and he obviously denies it.
Yeah,
so everything's sorted out and they're all loved up. But
the thing is, Jessica has nearly run over Elizabeth and her best friend, stole the car, blamed her when she went to Kelly's,
given her name to the police,
accused Todd of being a rapist or an attempted rapist. So there's some revenge is needed, right? Revenge for something so absolutely awful as claiming someone as an attempted rapist. So what can they possibly do that will even the score between these two?
Well, so Elizabeth confronts Jess, and Jessica just cries.
Yeah.
And she says she'll die if Liz doesn't forgive her. And then Liz says, I can't ever stay angry at you. Which is basically every time Jessica does something wrong, we go through this scene.
Right.
And yeah, like you said, Elizabeth does have a plan to get revenge.
Yeah.
So it's the last day of term, and she dresses like Jessica. So she wears the tuxedo shirt with the little bow tie.
Yeah.
It's back.
Yeah. Which, of course, doesn't tip Jessica off because it is her shirt. Jessica was just borrowing it.
And then she accidentally, on purpose, spills water on Jessica's top. And then she says, oh, you can borrow one of mine.
Yeah.
And she gives her one that's very sort of Elizabeth-like.
Yeah.
So
Granny clothes.
So Jessica now looks like Elizabeth. But if they're at home, I don't see why.
You just go like, that's fine. I've got like loads of other outfits.
Tops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when they go to school, Jessica looks like Elizabeth and Elizabeth looks like Jessica.
Yes.
So they get to the school. The droids are playing
again. Yeah.
And
it's a celebration because they've got the football field, isn't it? I think that's the idea.
And it's the last day of term, I guess.
Yes. Well. Yeah.
We didn't get a band playing at the last day of term at our school.
No. I really want to hear the droids. What do you think the droids would sound like? Like if you yeah, probably. I guess they're students, right?
Yeah, they're people from the school.
Band. Yeah, so it's probably
awful. They're in every book, but they seem to be the only band in Sweet Valley.
I remember school bands. They're awful. I was in one. They're awful. So the droids are playing, and Liz and Todd basically, trick the crowd, don't they? Yeah.
So the three of them are together, and then Elizabeth says to Jess and Todd that she has to go and talk to Dana. About an article.
Yeah.
Dana's the lead singer of the Droids. Not sure if we said that. And then we're told that it's tradition to throw the eyes and ears writer into the pool fully clothed if their identity is revealed.
Which it has
before the end of term.
Yeah.
And then
it's announced over the loudspeaker.
Yeah. So Elizabeth pretends to be Jessica, and she asks Dana to announce that Elizabeth is the writer of the column.
Yeah. So it's announced, and against Jessica's protest, she's picked up by two of the jocks, and they throw her into the swimming pool because no one believes her.
Yeah.
And
so that's what she gets for crime rape.
That's what she gets for everything she's done in this book. That's what she gets.
Thrown into a pool fully clothed.
And Jessica says she will never forgive them for the prank, not even in 137 years. And
so, justice is served.
Justice is apparently served. That's basically like what they do in court now, isn't it? If you're accused of attempted rape, they're like, well, you get in the swimming pool, thrown in the swimming pool in your suit, and that's fine. That's fine. So that was Double Love, the first book of Sweet Valley High. I really enjoyed reading this.
Yeah. So at the end of the book, we get a little teaser of book 2.
Teaser for next time.
It's also going to be a
secrets.
Teaser
the next
for
one.
Our next podcast.
Yeah.
So, Enid arrives at the Wakefield's house crying, and she says something awful has happened, and that Ronnie is going to hate her, and she could just die.
Damn.
And then it says, "What is the dark mystery in Enid's past? And how does Jessica use it to her advantage? Find out in Sweet Valley High number 2, Secrets." Also published this month.
And we will.
We will. Yeah, these books used to come out monthly.
Oh wow! So this was the first 2 came out in the same month, I guess.
Yeah,
and
they were really churned out in the 80s.
Mm-hmm. But they had lots of different writers, didn't they? So it wasn't like one writer. It's like, which I guess is how they got them out so fast. They just hired a load of ghost writers and went, go for it. And,
so Francine Pascal created the storylines and the characters, but then she just sent outlines to ghostwriters and they wrote them all.
Mm-hmm. Presumably with, say, 137 here, or at some point in this book. I really enjoyed reading that. I'm looking forward to Secrets because I don't know what Enid's secret is. Of course, you do.
You do know. You just don't realise that you know.
Oh no, I do know. I think I do know.
But it's really weird because all the books say written by Kate William on them. So I always thought that Kate William
was one writer who just wrote crazy amounts.
Kate William doesn't exist.
No, it's an
Kate
assumed
William
name, right?
Is a fake name for all the ghostwriters.
Which is so
really
weird. It's like, whether it's some like union thing or something, I don't know. But it's really weird that they just didn't give the credit to the writers. Because a lot of the ghostwriters now, you can find them online. You found some, didn't you? Like the ghostwriters of Sweet Valley High.
There's a few blog
it's just weird they never got credit. I mean, some of them were really thankful anyway just to do it, weren't they? Because one of them was like in school or something, or uni. And they did it for a bit of cash. But
a lot of them really enjoyed it.
But it's a real shame that they didn't get the credit they deserved for these books, because like this is like a massive. I mean, since you've got into Sweet Valley, like I've just been like amazed at like the size of the fan base that Sweet Valley's got, and like all of these Facebook groups and stuff. And it's one of the good things about social media now, I guess.
Yeah,
you can get all these groups together. But yeah, really enjoyed it. So next
there's a lot of women in their 30s. Basically,
our generation
have done what I've done and thought, I'll reread a couple of books,
and then got hooked,
and then turned into this.
Yeah.
There's a few different podcasts about it as well. I listen to all of them. They're all really, really good. And
I didn't want to listen to any because I didn't want it to colour my thoughts.
Yeah,
but I will probably listen to their version of the Double Love one once I've put this one together. I didn't want to colour my sort of thoughts on it as we went through it, but. Yeah, it was fun. Double Love. And I'm looking forward to Secrets, book 2. So, you have an Instagram for this.
Yeah, so we have an Instagram at... I don't know how to find out your Instagram URL.
But
it's called Kelly's Roadhouse.
If you look up Kelly's Roadhouse, I think you'll find it. You post Sweet Valley stuff on there all the time, don't you? You
post, it's been going for quite a while.
And
it's mainly Sweet Valley, but it's got some other general sort of teen fiction things on it.
Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put a link in there. For it. But yeah, this has been fun.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to book number 2, Secrets.
Yes.
Which will probably be in about 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, a couple of weeks, yeah. I'll get reading the next one now, and we will meet again. So until then, thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.